everybody, welcome back to another video. Today we'll be working on motor mounts on the series on the 9.3 here. If you're not watching this as part of the series, we're changing motor mounts today on the 9.3, specifically the side motor mount, which lives right down here, and then the transmission mount. This is an automatic transmission, but the manual is similar. That's kind of right below the battery tray there. And then there is a third motor mount on these right back here below the steering rack. It's kind of hard to see, but it's kind of right above the exhaust there in terms of left and right. So that's kind of what we have going on. Got a couple things going on here with this right now, so it's kind of opened up, but this supposedly is the engine mount, which I don't recall it looking like that when I did these on my 99 9.3 with the manual transmission. Supposedly this one is for the automatic transmission. We will see. Again, this is an 02 Trionic 7 automatic. The last time I did this was about 6 years ago, and that was a 99 T5 with a manual, so we'll see what's different, who knows. But anyway, so the first thing we're going to start with, if I remember correctly, is we're going to remove the wheel here on this side and jack up the vehicle and kind of support the engine, and then we'll wow, that was loud. Then we'll pull the wheel liner out and kind of get access to everything and go from there. And then I'll tag that one first, and when that's done, we'll do the transmission mount. I'm not going to do the one in the back, at least today. We'll do that in a separate video if and when it needs done. Those are really tricky, and frankly, I don't think it needs done. I want to leave it alone on this car. So we'll go ahead and do the worst one there first, and then move over and do the transmission mount. Alright, so with the vehicle in the air and having it supported on jack stands, the next thing is to pull out the inner fender covers here. So you have the one clip here with just a few fasteners and screws around the outside, and then you have the two Torx screws right here on the bumper. There's the Saab fastener there, 10 mil plastic nut there. That's also going to be a little hex head bolt, and then two underneath. Then this pulls loose, and then you can see there is our mount right there. So now I'm going to fiddle with getting this out of the way without scratching up the bumper, and then we'll get back to it. I did pull the airbox out of the way here, which is easy on these. As we all know, the rubber mounts for the airbox generally break, so if you disconnect the line here going down to the turbo, that just lifts out. I did that because I need to work on this stuff shortly, which I will do, but also I have the I just wanted to kind of take a look down there at the mount, but you can see that little post reaching out next to the frame. So alright, let me move that and we'll get back to it. Okay, so I'm now here laying on the ground, taking a look up underneath. So if we follow the frame rail back out from the firewall there, you can see here is the mount. We have one bolt right up here, one bolt in the front, and then if we turn the camera around, there's one more right inside here that goes to this little engine post. And again, this is the view from beneath. So if we support this point or the engine further back, that'll support the engine for a while. We can take these out and then get everything in. Now, if I remember correctly, the last time I did this, all the mounts were kind of cooked, and this was a little difficult to line up. So I think we kind of got everything loose and kind of in place, and then tightened it up, one and then the next and then the third and then back around, so that we got it all back in alignment. But yeah, this can be a little tricky, or at least it was for me last time. We'll see. All right, next I'm going to get the engine supported, and we'll loosen up these bolts and go from there. Alright, so now I have the vehicle supported on jack stands. I've moved the jack around. I've got a 4x4 on top of it sitting on the oil pan, so it's covering both sides, but it's mainly resting there on the front, so we have a lot of surface area. We don't need a lot of pressure, just enough to raise the engine. You wouldn't want to do this on every car, but on these it's okay to do. And again, like I said, we're not putting a ton of pressure on it, we're just kind of supporting it. So I've given it just a little bit of pressure, and you can see that with the bolts just loosened up a few turns, which I did before I put everything on the support there. You can see that it is loose, so we'll go ahead and pull all those bolts out, wiggle this old piece out, and get the new one in. So I do have that out now, so if you take a look here, this is the way that it comes out. I took out the two bolts up here first. Those are 15 mil, and then I used a 5/16, but I think that's a 8 mil hex head right there. But these are the original mounts. You can see there's some cracking developing here along the edges, and then also kind of right through this area. So they're not too bad. They're also a little bit baked from the heat. You can tell they're a little bit worn, so we'll go ahead and give those a swap. You'll notice on the back here there is this alignment post, so they're not too bad to line up on that side. So here's the new one going in. We've got the new alignment post there and everything else. So just to compare them, very similar. Of course, this is a Saab original. This is Euro parts, so I don't know. This one was probably better, a lot better when it was new, but this will be better at this point. So you can see again, one thing to kind of keep in mind with these, that'll get you some vibration and stuff, and also this is part of the challenge. You know, when you go to change these out, is look at the distance between this nut and the bottom of the metal there versus this one. I'll put these right up side by side. You can see they are, you know, you can see it's definitely come down just a little bit. So that's the challenge, because once you get that in, you know, you kind of have to get the engine up a little bit. It's pinned in by the other motor mounts and things. So that's kind of where the challenge comes on these, and that's why it's really a good idea to not neglect these, and that's kind of why we're doing this, just so that, you know, whoever owns this next doesn't have to deal with this even worse down the line. So, all right, let's get back to it. I'll get this one kind of in place, and we'll see what we need to do to kind of fiddle with it. Well, I stand corrected. That actually went in really well, lined right up, and there is still room there to the frame. So I got it started a bunch of turns. It's still not tight, but we'll just let it be. I'll get the two 15 mil bolts in next, and we'll go from there. But yeah, that actually wasn't too bad. I was kind of worried about it, and it turns out it was actually really, really easy. So that's cool. All right, so at this point, I've got the jack removed, so the engine is resting on the weight of the mount. As you can see, everything's back together there. This plate has come down a little bit, so you can tell it's definitely supporting the weight of the engine. But yeah, that wasn't too bad. You may need a pry bar on the bottom to get the bolts going up into the frame lined up, but I was able to just do that by hand and then get everything snugged up, and we're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and put all this back together. It's pretty simple after all, just a couple fasteners and things, and we'll get the wheel back on, and we'll get to that transmission mount next. And with everything back together on the passenger side, the next thing to do will be to remove the battery. So we've got both terminals here. The clamp for that is already out. Not sure why, but there would be a clamp down here. And then once that's out of the way, and of course this cover is off too, but anyway, you know that. So the cover's off, and then there's some plates on the bottom, or some bolts on the bottom that secure the plate. So pull those out, and then that gets you access to the top. As far as the bottom, there's two ways to do this. I'm going to test a method and I'll report back, but there's the shielding down here. So you can either pull the shielding, or you can do what I'm going to attempt to do, which is get access up through this opening here, and then get to both bolts there, and see if there's enough room to drop that mount down. So we'll give that a shot, and we'll see how that goes. But the first thing is to make the battery disappear. Alright, so the latest progress here, I've got the battery out and the tray off to the side here. Now, you don't strictly have to do that, but where that is going to help you is that it allows you to be able to get in here and see the two bolts that you have to remove, which are kind of right down in that area right there. So it does clear up some space so you can see what you're getting at. So there's these two bolts on the side, which are 16 millimeters. You'll just have to fiddle with the right length to be able to get in. I did have to crack them loose from down below, and then I'm able to loosen them up from up top here. I just moved this boost pipe out of the way, so we've got that. As far as the bottom, I did have to remove the little piece of panning there, so that's out of the way. So with that out of the way, then you do have, of course, clear access to get to the mount here, and these are two 15 millimeter bolts. So I've gone ahead and loosened everything up. So next thing I'm going to do is remove the two on the side, and then we'll pull this one out, and yeah, that looks to be in pretty tough shape, so we'll see what we find. But anyway, all right, let me get that out and we'll compare them. Alright, so we have success. The old mount is out. As you can see, at first glance, this one isn't very saggy, which is good. But you will notice here that it is completely ripped right at this point and also at this point. So it's just holding on here, and there's some severe cracks there. So this is just all over the place, you know, for obvious reasons. That's done. So we've got the new one here. So the one thing you want to do is take this little spacer piece, flip these over, and you will have to transfer this to the new mount, just like that, and then that will bolt back in place. Alright, right like that. But wow, I mean, that is just done. So, oh wow, look at this. Look at that, it is ripped on the back here. Or is that what we were looking at? No, it may have been. Okay, so, oh well. But no, that is completely ripped through and very cracked on this side. So I'll bet this would, you know, I'll bet we could split that apart very easily. But yeah, this kind of happens on these. So, you know, after 20 years, it's time. So no complaints there, but that'll definitely make a difference. Okay, well at this point the new mount is in. If we take a look underneath, there it is, in much better shape. Everything's secured down and good to go. The engine came up a little bit on this side actually, so that was definitely down. Alright, so underneath I have to re-secure the panning, and then up top we need to get this battery tray back in place. I got the boost pipe back together there, but yeah, otherwise I'll get all this back together. I'm going to take a couple minutes just to get kind of cleaned up here, and then we'll take this out for a drive and see how it's doing. Alright, so I'm all cleaned up. I've got everything kind of ready to go here. Now everything's torn apart, so you're going to hear squeaks and rattles, but we can still give it a test drive. So if we get back here to drive, okay, again everything's starting to rattle, but there's much less of a vibration than before, so let's take it out here on the road. Alright, so far so good. Everything's really nice and smooth. Let's test it here on this next block. Big bump there. Yeah, that's much better. Almost imperceptible, or as imperceptive as a 4-speed can be. So yeah, this is much better. Let's give it a little boot here. Yep. Okay, so yeah, that's good. That's what it should feel like now. So excellent. Mission accomplished. We're good to go. We can now call that complete. One last thing I will do, I'm going to wait till we're on flat ground here, and we'll just rock it through park, reverse, neutral, and drive just to make sure that everything's still good and tight. So we'll stop right here. Everybody in the neighborhood probably thinks I'm a nut, but you know, whatever. Okay, so going back through them all here, we are good. Alright, to drive. Sorry, this is loose. I had this out looking at something. So, alright, neutral. Yeah, no change. Reverse. You can feel it shift, but that's about it. Smoothly into park. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, once we get the rest of this interior all cleaned up, this is going to be really nice, I'm sure. So very good. Yeah, that's definitely an improvement. If you have an older 9.3, I mean at this point they're all kind of old, but if you have a 9.3 of this generation and you haven't done the motor mounts, you will be impressed. I can guarantee that. So all right, thank you very much for watching.